Nigel Farage racist then?
Well, that policy
is Nigel Farage racist? Because he's responsible for the policy.
Do you know what? I'm not even sure if I've ever spent time with Nigel Farage, so I'm not going to be able to comment on
just
him
from
personally.
what you've seen of him, do you feel that he is racist from what you've seen?
I'm going to not play the man, I'm going to play the ball, and that policy I believe is a racist policy.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that people that support reform are racist, absolutely not, but that policy of deporting people,
and he's responsible for that. He's responsible for that. So if the policy is racist, it must follow that the person who created the policy is racist.
Well, I'm going to focus on the policies rather than the individuals, but there are lots of people listening, and their neighbour may have been born abroad. They may be married to somebody who was born abroad. The person sitting next to them in the office might have been born abroad, but if they are here legally, if they are working and they are contributing, I don't think there is any case to say you're going to deport that person.
The debate over immigration and identity politics in Britain intensified this week after Shadow Chancellor Rachel Reeves was pressed in an interview with Radio Times on whether she considers Nigel Farage to be racist. Her answer was pointed, but also carefully framed to avoid turning the issue into a personal clash. Asked directly whether Farage himself is racist, Reeves declined to make a judgment about the man. "I'm going to not play the man. I'm going to play the ball," she said. She argued instead that the policy of deporting people who live and work in Britain, but who were born abroad, is a racist policy. Reeves stressed that this critique did not extend to all voters or Reform UK supporters, many of whom, she acknowledged, might have immigrant neighbours, spouses, or colleagues. The exchange reflects the political calculation at the heart of Britain's immigration debate. By focusing on policy rather than personal accusations, Reeves aimed to highlight what she called the discriminatory nature of deportation proposals without alienating potential swing voters. Her remarks also underline the challenge faced by mainstream politicians as they confront Reform UK's platform: how to critique policies they consider discriminatory while not vilifying the voters who support them. Still, the question lingers. If a policy is deemed racist, does that implicate the political figure who champions it? The interviewer pressed this point, noting that Farage is the architect of the policy. Reeves resisted that conclusion, reiterating that her priority was to scrutinize the policy itself. In doing so, Reeves positioned Labour as taking a principled stand on human rights and the rule of law, but also revealed the tightrope the party walks between moral critique and electoral pragmatism, with immigration expected to be a central issue in the next election. The exchange signals that the battle will hinge not just on policies themselves, but on the framing of the debate.
Do you know what, Keir Starmer? I think you are the most divisive and deplorable Prime Minister this country has ever seen.
It's a completely different thing to say we are going to reach in to people who are lawfully here and start removing them. They are our neighbours.
That proposal is immoral, to deport people who are already here if they don't pass more stringent rules. Do you think it's a racist policy?
Well, I do think that it is a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
The nerve the Prime Minister had this morning to brand Reform UK's policy of mass deportations, that's what it is, as racist and immoral, shows how deeply divisive and out of touch with the public he really is. According to ONS data, 4.83 million people came to the UK since 2020. That is the same size as the populations of Birmingham, Manchester and Cardiff combined. Or 1 million more people than the entire population of Wales in just the space of 4 years. That is unsustainable. It is not racist to say that almost 5 million arrivals when our country is already on its knees is the wrong thing for Britain. It flies in the face of the votes people have cast time and time again for over a decade, including Brexit, doesn't it? For multiple Tory governments who promised you tens of thousands of migrants but delivered you millions. Well, Zia Youssef, Reform's policy chief, has nailed it in my opinion. He said Labour's message to the country is clear. Pay hundreds of billions for foreign nationals to live off of the state forever, or Labour will call you racist. Is it any surprise Keir Starmer is now the most unpopular Prime Minister on record? An Ipsos poll shows him at minus 66%. Now, that is worse than Liz Truss at her lowest, worse than Thatcher during the poll tax riots. That's how bad it is. Even his own party want him out. 53% of his own party members want a new leader. Only 31% want him to stay, according to a Survation poll. No wonder. Starmer, do you think he answered a straightforward and simple question about his new flagship digital ID policy?
It's been really clear, you must have ID, mandatory digital ID, in order to work, because we have to stop illegal working. If you look at any of the raids, we've massively increased the number of raids on working premises. It is absolutely clear that people are working illegally in numbers.
That was a classic deflection. The actual answer that you know at home already is that it won't stop illegal migrants working in the black economy at all. It really won't. We already have national insurance and passports for this exact same problem, but they're working cash in hand, aren't they? Digital ID is not going to solve it. There's another walking, talking disaster for this government too.
I want to pay credit to the populist far right. They are very good at comms, right? And to agree that they get a head start because they are unburdened by having to tell the truth and having to be candid with people, and they are unburdened by the need to actually dive into the complexity to fashion real solutions that provide real answers and make real people's lives better.
Oh, I'm so bored of it. I'm so bored of hearing those two words, far right. The far right are good at comms. Maybe instead of smearing Reform UK and Nigel Farage, they should admit their own policies are deeply unpopular and clearly ineffective, and that the British people are rejecting this divisive politics. Because let me state the obvious for everyone. The public are sick to death of being branded racist for wanting secure borders. They're sick to death of a government mired in scandals while spending their hard-earned money on ideological nonsense. And they're sick to death of being told they must pay even more while basic services collapse.
How many homes have you built so far under Labour?
Well, do you know how long it takes for a planning application to go through?
Just how many?
Do you know how long
Just
it takes?
Just give me the figure.
Well, we're currently dealing with dealing with the tail end of what the Conservatives were doing, because it takes more than 18 months from an application to the home being built.
Please answer the question.
No, but I'm not going to take the blame for what the Tories did.
No,
I'm going to take the blame for what Labour does if it goes wrong subsequently. We're changing the rules to speed up planning so that the problem we're seeing now doesn't happen again in future.
How many houses have been built under Labour so far?
Starts have gone up by 29%. What I can't do...
Can you give me a figure?
I know it's really low, and I'm appalled by it as well, but that is because the Conservatives didn't get the applications through.
Please don't tell me you don't know the number as
Conservatives didn't get the applications through.
Do you know?
29% up starts.
No. How many new homes have been built since Labour took power?
I don't have the exact... I'm not Wikipedia.
You don't have...
No, I'm not Wikipedia.
No.
That's car crash, isn't it? That's a car crash interview. The British public deserve better than secretaries of state who get defensive because they don't even know the most basic numbers about their own portfolio, all while people like Steve Reed rake in a massive 150 grand taxpayer-funded salary. If that was a normal workplace, you'd be sacked. You'd be sacked, wouldn't you? If all these gripes make me far right and a racist, then frankly, so be it. I'm sick to death of the name calling. What I think it says more about this Labour government and its ministers and about the Prime Minister than it does about the vast majority of people in this country who share my concerns.